People spend their entire lives chasing happiness like it's some prize at the end of the race. They keep saying, once I get that promotion, once I find the right person, once I lose the weight, once I have more money, then I'll finally be happy. And they don't even realize what they're doing. They're putting their happiness on layaway. They're delaying their own joy, holding it hostage to some future condition that might never come. And the crazy part is, when they finally do get the thing they wanted, that sense of happiness only lasts a few moments before it fades and they start chasing the next thing. That's because they never learned the true happiness is not a destination, it's not a reward. It's a state of being, a choice, a decision you make every single day, no matter what's happening around you. Think about it. You've had moments in your life where everything looked great from the outside, but inside you felt empty. You've also had moments where everything looked uncertain, but somehow you felt peaceful, alive, grateful. What changed? Not your circumstances, your state. It's not what's happening around you that determines how you feel. It's what's happening within you. If you let the external world control your internal world, you'll always be at the mercy of something you can't control, because life will never stop throwing you challenges. There will always be setbacks, disappointments, people who let you down. If you let those things define your happiness, you'll spend your life reacting instead of living. But when you decide, and I mean truly decide, that your happiness is not dependent on anything or anyone, you become free, you reclaim your power. I've met billionaires who are miserable and people with almost nothing who radiate joy. You know why? Because happiness has nothing to do with what you have. It's about what you focus on, what you appreciate, and what you give meaning to. You can have everything and still feel empty if you're focused on what's missing. You can have very little and feel abundant if you're focused on what's present. The difference is focus, and focus is something you can control. Most people are in a habit, the habit of suffering. They've trained themselves to focus on problems, to magnify what's wrong, to live in what if fear. What if this goes wrong? What if they don't like me? What if I fail? That constant focus on what's missing or broken creates a state of unhappiness, and they don't even realize it's a pattern. They think this is just who I am, but it's not who you are. It's what you've been practicing. You've literally conditioned your brain to look for what's wrong. That's how powerful your mind is. It will find whatever you consistently focus on. So if you want to be happy, not someday, not occasionally, but consistently, you've got to train your mind the same way you train your body. You've got to make happiness a daily practice. Because your mind is like a muscle. If you don't control it, it will control you. It will drift toward fear, toward scarcity, toward what's missing. But when you start consciously choosing where your attention goes, you start to reshape your emotional reality. Here's the thing, happiness is not about everything going perfectly. It's about deciding that even when things aren't perfect, you can still find something beautiful. It's about taking ownership of your emotional state. Because the moment you say, I can't be happy until this happens, you've given away your power. You've told yourself that something outside of you has to change before you can feel good. But if happiness depends on external conditions, you'll be waiting forever. Because life doesn't owe you perfect circumstances. It gives you opportunities to grow through imperfection. You want to know something powerful? You can choose happiness in the middle of chaos. You can feel joy even when things aren't going your way. That's not delusion. That's mastery. That's understanding that happiness doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means not living in it. It's choosing to acknowledge the storm, but not let it define you. It's saying, yes, this is hard, but I'm still grateful. I'm still alive. I'm still moving forward. That's emotional strength. When you start treating happiness as a state you can generate, not something you stumble into, your entire world changes. You stop being reactive. You stop waiting for things to get better. You become the thing that makes life better, because happiness doesn't come from getting what you want. It comes from appreciating what you have and using it to grow. I want you to think about a time in your life when you felt truly happy. What was happening in that moment? Were you worried about what was missing? Were you comparing yourself to someone else? Or were you fully present, engaged, grateful, connected? Happiness lives in the present. But most people never live here. They live in the past, replaying regrets, or in the future, worrying about what could go wrong. And then they wonder why they don't feel happy. You can't feel joy when your mind is everywhere except where life is actually happening. So I want to challenge you. For the next 10 days, every morning when you wake up, before you grab your phone, before you check your messages, take 1 minute, just one, and ask yourself, what could I be happy about right now if I wanted to be? You'll be amazed at how that simple question starts to shift your focus. You might think of someone you love, a moment you're proud of, even just the fact that you're breathing, that you woke up today. That's not small. That's everything. You see, happiness isn't about denying your challenges. It's about choosing not to let them define your emotional home. We all have an emotional home, a state we live in most of the time. For some people, that home is stress or frustration. For others, it's joy or gratitude. The key is to make happiness your home base. You can visit sadness, anger, fear, we all do, but don't live there. Don't unpack and settle in. Return to happiness as your default, because that's when you become unstoppable. People think they need motivation to be happy, but it's actually the other way around. Happiness creates motivation. When you feel good, you do good. When you're grateful, you act with purpose. When you're joyful, you're creative, resourceful, and confident. That's why training yourself to feel happy now isn't selfish. It's essential. You can't pour into others when your cup is empty. You can't lift people up if you're running on empty yourself. And here's what's wild. Science backs this up. Your brain literally releases dopamine and serotonin when you experience gratitude, when you move your body, when you connect deeply with others. Those chemicals don't come from success. They create success. They shape your behavior, your performance, your energy. When you choose happiness, you're actually priming your mind to create more of what makes you happy. But you've got to interrupt the old pattern first. Every time you catch yourself thinking, I'll be happy when, stop. Change that pattern. Ask yourself, what can I be happy about right now? It doesn't have to be huge. It could be as simple as, I'm alive. I have a chance today. I'm breathing. I'm learning. Don't underestimate those moments, because those moments compound. That's how you shift your state, repetition. And when you practice that long enough, happiness stops being an event and becomes a way of life. It becomes who you are. You stop needing reasons to be happy because you start realizing that happiness is the reason to grow, to love, to contribute, to live fully. There will always be things you can't control, other people's opinions, the economy, the past. But the one thing that's always within your control is your focus. If you focus on what's missing, you'll always feel lacking. But if you focus on what's present, what's working, what's beautiful, you'll always feel abundant. The meaning you give to your life shapes the quality of it. You can see challenges as burdens, or you can see them as blessings in disguise, lessons that are shaping you for something greater. Let's be honest, you've had tough days, right? Days when you felt like you couldn't go on, but you did. You made it through every bad day you've ever had. You're still here. That alone is proof of your strength. There's power in realizing that happiness doesn't come after the pain. It can coexist with it. You can find light even in dark moments if you choose to look for it. That's what separates people who thrive from those who just survive. They make happiness a practice, not a prize. So the next time your mind tries to tell you that you can't be happy until something changes, remember, this life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. And that change starts in you. It starts when you decide that happiness is not something you wait for. It's something you create moment by the choices you make and the focus you hold. Because happiness isn't a feeling that visits you. It's a home you build. And it starts with the decision to live there.